It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, superheroes, and Mother Nature, so please spare me. So let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're reviewing Hurricane Blue Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a light sprinkling.
It's technically Tropical Storm Blue Beetle.
Tropical Storm Blue Beetle. Okay, great. Okay, well then hopefully we don't get upgraded to hurricane status. But yes, we are reviewing Blue Beetle. Ahsoka gets moved up 6 hours, which means actually a whole day for most people. So we're going to talk about what this means later. Scott Pilgrim returns to the zeitgeist after 13 years of.
For me, Chris, it never left.
Yeah, it never. It's so weird to me because I don't know when's the last time it's been published. Like the last episode was finished 25 years or 15 years ago. More, I don't know. But anyway, we got Scott Pilgrim news, and you're gonna love it and more.
Yeah, and like I alluded to in the opening, like the last couple weeks on the podcast, I've been like battling the Southern California heat. Now I'm battling not exactly the opposite because it's not necessarily cold, but it's wet. It's raining outside. I'm looking right out my window right now, not just because it's a nice view, but also just strategically for safety. The winds are supposed to pick up here at some point tonight, tomorrow. We're going to be getting some pretty big gusts between like 40, 50 miles an hour. There's a lot of rain. The gutters out there on the streets are getting pretty full, but as of right now, Southern California is just, we're having some light fun before the impending doom hits. If you've been keeping up with the storm coverage, all the real bad stuff is going to happen in the deserts because that's like pouring a bucket of water onto concrete, and it's just going to go everywhere and it's going to be bad. So don't know how things are going to shake out in SoCal, but I'm happy I can be here to record with you, Chris. Hopefully my internet and upload speeds will still be functioning properly by the end of this episode so I can get this one up into the cloud, and I'll come back all fresh and peachy with a free car wash for my car out there known as Mother Nature next week.
Absolutely. We're in a heat wave on our end. The opposite end of Mike's actually for once. So for anyone in the Kentuckiana region, stay inside while the heat's coming at you this week. Don't get overheated. Don't sit in the cars. Don't lock yourself in your car while you're waiting on your wife to go into the grocery store. Get in there too. Enjoy some of that air conditioning. But we're gonna get this going for Mike. Mike, you've been watching some stuff here. Looks like some of this on Netflix, I believe. The Fear Street Trilogy, as you noted here. Continue to tell us about this because I know it was on Netflix. We don't watch horror around here. It's nothing personal. It's just it's not our jive in this house. So tell us about the Fear Street Trilogy.
Well, I think more accurately, I could pitch Fear Street to folks out there as a teen slasher, which is at least one of the categorization bullet points that Netflix uses. But this was kind of a fun enough release of a trilogy that came out in the year 2021. So we were all kind of still in the pandemic, and we were all leaning into our streaming services, as all of the earnings for all of these streamers loved reporting during the pandemic, right? So this was a fun trilogy of teen slasher movies that came out during the summer of 2021, and each film came out 1 week apart, and it was this fun gimmick where the story of Fear Street was being told in reverse. The first film, part 1, takes place in 1994. And then we go back in time for the second film to get a little bit more backstory and explanation on the lore of kind of these curses that exist in this town. We go back to 1978, and then finally we end up in 1666, kind of at the beginning where all of this takes place. I won't spoil too much because I think there's enough here to recommend if you're just kind of a fan of the genre, or maybe you want to see maybe some slight experimental kind of filmmaking, even though I think experimental is a stretch. I just thought the gimmick of the 3 movies was enough for me to watch it at least while I was working out, you know? So it was fun going back in time, going in reverse. So you see these killings happen in this town, and there's this whole idea that there's this curse. We go back in time to see where the curse kind of had been proliferating through the town, kind of almost like if you have seen or read the It stories, where, you know, the Pennywise has kind of like cursed the town in general. So that was fun to see. It has a lot of Stranger Things cameos in it, so you can kind of see the Netflix synergy machine spinning up for this trilogy, which, you know, is kind of fun. You do the Leonardo DiCaprio meme a lot of like, hey, I know where that person's from. I saw that person in Stranger Things. But the concept does slightly overstay its welcome once you get to the last film. Once you go back to 1666, kind of with these Pilgrim settlers, they do the thing where they bring all of the actors from the first 2 movies back to kind of play proto versions of their family or whatever back
American
in time.
Horror Story.
And they're doing kind of less than effective kind of accents, and it's not quite as gripping. But hey, it's a streaming service, so what do? I use the fast forward button, and I was happy to see that technically the 1666 storyline only lasts about an hour of that 3rd movie, and then we catapult back to 1994 to wrap up the whole cursed town storyline. So I thought that was fun. There's some interesting kind of creature designs, or I guess slasher villain designs, because the 1994 movie leans into kind of like the Scream vibe of movies at the time. When we go back to 78, we're at a camp, not unlike Jason slasher time. And then 1666, you get to like witch trials, you know, curses, devils, satanic kind of stuff like that. So that's kind of like a soft recommend for the Fear Street trilogy if you're just looking for something to fill the time. There's a strike going on out there in Hollywood right now, so all you kind of can do is go back and look for stuff that you forgot to watch a couple years ago, right?
Well, I was talking to someone earlier today, and they were putting in their Halloween request for Chris Flicks, if you will. So it's about time to get into the spooky season, if you will. So yeah, that's probably something. I'm not gonna watch this. I'm gonna be honest. I don't care enough about this. Horror movies just don't do. I don't care. Like people are like, yeah, you gotta watch them. I'm like, no, I don't have to watch them. I don't care. I'll just read a synopsis on Wikipedia, to be honest. And it's not because of you. It's not because of your glowing recommendation.
It's
just how I am.
because of me.
Yeah. So
no, let me clarify. This is not a glowing recommendation.
Yeah.
This is just like if you got nothing else going on, you know, you're doing dishes or you're resurfacing hardwood floors or something like that, throw it on up there. Yeah. It's just kind of fun. You know, you could easily see this kind of being broken apart, and maybe it would have just been a season of a TV show. But, you know, TVs are all the rage now on streaming. You know, it's just kind of fun to see a trilogy drop all in 1 month. But that was Fear Street. That's what I watched. But and
then you are 6 years late to this one. No, I'm kidding. Did you have
not quite 6 years late, Chris? As the audience may or may not know, you were very, very kind a few years ago, and you sent me a PlayStation VR that I don't even remember how you ended up getting it.
It was secondhand and it was affordable, but I wanted to get Mike in on this because we needed it.
Yes,
he wanted to experience VR as I had.
He wanted to give me a taste. And one thing that I was able to do with the PlayStation VR, the first version back in the day, I was able to play Beatsaber, which is fun, but also it was a little bit of hassle to do in kind of like a party environment on that PlayStation VR.
Those cords really ruined that experience.
The cords are in the way. It's a hassle to kind of set up your virtual boundary and to switch off the headset and give it to other people so they can figure it out. But this is my long-winded way of saying I recently just acquired a MetaQuest 2, which is a standalone VR headset, no wires involved. You know, the controllers were actually designed to go with the headset, unlike the PSVR 1, which was those old Move controllers, right? So the resolution's better on the screen. You got more fidelities with the controller. So it's like, hey, I think it's time to get back in the Beatsaber. Me and my wife had a fun time. She was really getting into it more than I would, And then we decided, like, oh, since we're leaning into this a bit more, we're not really being an experimental VR headset. We let's just go ahead and start buying some music packs, right? And I feel like that's when the fun of Beatsaber really comes out. Because if you just download vanilla Beatsaber, if you will, you just get a lot of like electronic, like kind of party dance music.
It's very custom songs. Like they like, we don't want to license music yet. We want to put this in here in proof of concept. And then they started licensing music once the popularity took off, and that's where the fun happens. Yeah,
so we bought Panic at the Disco, we bought Queen, Linkin Park, Lizzo. So we were just vibing to all of these songs that we really, really like. There's a couple other music packs on there that I wouldn't mind
There's a
getting.
Linkin Park one in there. There's a couple, just like maybe not artist, but there's some that are like mix and match artists.
Yeah, there's like a general kind of like rock one. That there's a couple ones in there that would be like Freebirds on one of them. That's like an 8-minute song. I might have to maybe I'll just buy that one individually. I don't know. So been having a fun time with Beatsaber, but also like my wife noticed, she was like, oh, this is just like a workout. Like, you know, we only played it like once or twice on the PSVR, but we were able to lean into it a little bit more. Like, this is a freaking workout for sure. Like, you could totally just incorporate this into your normal cardio that you do and have a lot of fun.
So that's I mean, I'll be honest. That's kind of what I do with mine. You know, whenever I get to work from home, you don't want to do that in the office because you look weird. But what Mike knows about, and other people may know, there is a way to download songs as well. It's not like a built-in feature, but people have crafted their own songs or taken other songs and like made them into Beatsaber stuff, like insane stuff. And that is like, again, if I want to teach people to VR, or I have it out because I'm playing with it or with something else, and they see it like, oh, can I try? I'm like, yes. Let me put you in Beatsaber because it's the easiest game to learn. Everybody has fun with it, and then once you open up your library to lots of genres and lots of different music, a lot of people start to have fun with it, right? Because there's so much to do.
Yeah, and like you were saying, it's extremely intuitive, right? If you see like this transparent virtual wall coming towards you, you move out of the way of it. If you see like little spiky balls coming, don't hit those spiky balls. There's directions on all of them. There was a new feature added to Beatsaber that wasn't in the last time I played it, is these overarching arcs, where when you hit a block, you kind of like continue following the little smoke trail that it leaves. And I didn't need a primer on what that was. I just intuitively got it. So since we kind of got into the workout zone, there was another game that I knew of called Supernatural, which is strictly made specifically for working out. There's kind of like virtual trainers. They got virtual boxing, and they also have their kind of own version of Beatsaber as well. And they got a whole different financial model where it's a subscription-based thing. So I started my 7-day trial the other day, and that's kind of nice, at least in a way where you get to try everything. You don't have nothing's behind a paywall, at least for your first 7 days. So I was jumping into some of their workouts, and their kind of version of Beatsaber is fun, where instead of lightsabers, you have bats. And then the environment that you in is they put you in real environments. So like I'm in front of like a fjord in like Iceland, and their version of Beatsaber blocks, which are kind of like these black and white balloons, are coming at me, and they have their own directions listed on them. Then like these triangles come at me, which make me need to squat, and then they have like these bars that make you kind of have to bob and weave like a boxer sometimes. And then they do a neat thing where you have to set up your play area a little bit more, but you rotate. So kind of like the portal that's sending you all of the targets isn't always in one spot. You might have to rotate like 360 or 180 to get the other ones, but that was pretty fun.
Full 360, huh?
Yeah, and I don't, Chris, I wouldn't be shocked if you have played this already, but if you haven't, I noticed they've licensed Disney songs that you can do this to. I was in the Encanto playlist yesterday, doing some stuff, and they take a different approach also to it, where there's no pass or fail, so you don't get the kind of antagonizing like kind of noise if you miss a block like you do in Beatsaber. They kind of just encourage you, like, hey, this is working out. If you miss a balloon or something, like, no big deal. We're just trying to get you working up a sweat. Yeah. So I might try to clear out maybe a little bit more of a workout area for this one in the future. But that's just my experience with the VR headset over this weekend.
Yeah, it's great. The only thing I would say, the other game I would add, I wish all games had free trials on Oculus because you just never know. But it's called Audica, Audica, and it's Beat Saber with guns. And like, you mentioned, like, you're shooting blocks, you're hitting blocks with your guns, you're shooting and dragging, like you mentioned, like that one Beat Saber thing that's mad. They took that from Audica, but their songs are more like I would say kind of like more curated. Like, you're only going to play like 60 seconds of a song rather than the full song because they're like, there's some boring parts. We know this. So we're going to play we got Ariana Grande and Post Malone and a bunch of other like things on Audica, which was really fun. And their zones are really cool because there's some mode you can like hold a button and throw your gun and it like goes out. And then when you let it go, it comes back to your hand, which is like a really fun little feature. But yeah, absolutely. And then I'm just going to go. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I am on board and looking for recommendations, not necessarily for games, which I think games are great, but I think the coolest thing about the headset for me is, like, the experiences, right? Like, I can totally see how you just, adjust a video game to be in virtual reality, right? I'm the camera, you might be giving me arms or something like that, or you're setting up some sort of play world where I can, like, stay in place and the action happens around me. But I think the experiences are also really interesting to me. So I've seen that there's lots of, like, interesting, like, meditation type things where you're just kind of like floating down a boat, or I would love just to have like a AAA studio just like develop a rich, beautiful, interactive environment where there's like no score or progression. I just get to like walk around or stuff like that. So I'm keeping my eye out for that as unique experiences as well.
There are a couple Star Wars games. I know you said you weren't like reading, but there are Star Wars. I would say they're Star Wars experiences because you're kind of on rails a little bit with like lightsabers. Like you I think we talked about them before. The Darth Vader games are on Quest. They started on Quest, so you can play this, and they have like a Jedi training session. So if you really want to like do your lightsabers, your reflecting blades back, and using Force powers, really recommend those if you want to get into your Star Wars stuff for that. And for those who may not know, if you have an Oculus or not, Iron Man VR finally came to the Meta store, MetaQuest store. It's not just on PlayStation anymore. So I think I haven't got it yet because I had it on PlayStation VR and I got rid of that. But like, it'd be something definitely I'd want to pick back up on and try with a wire-free headset because boy, did my hands like lose control on that Iron Man VR because it was looking for like little motion things, like the light blobs. And I'm just going to quickly touch on this because we're already 17 minutes in, Mike, and I can hear the wind knocking on your door. No, I'm kidding. I can't hear anything over there. But Disney's Lorcana, their card game that's a collectible card game, very similar to Magic the Gathering or Pokemon, came out this weekend in your local game stores. Not big box stores yet, but I was able to pick up the 3 starter decks and go through the cards. And my wife is like in love with this already. She's like, I need the card boxes. I need the sleeves. I need all the Disney merchandise for this game. But it's really fun because it's very easy to pick up and play and learn how to do. So she was very excited for that. And we haven't had a chance to play this weekend because I forgot I needed to go see Blue Beetle. I'll admit that honestly on the show. We haven't had a chance to play yet, but she's very, very excited to play it. We got some booster packs. She loves opening booster packs, Mike.
Who doesn't? That's part of the fun.
Yeah, they include a holo card with everything. So Lorcana is officially out in local game stores. Big box stores will be 1st of September, so check those out if you're interested.
Yeah. I saw somebody opening up a pack, and it's really funny because you have the whole context of like a trading card universe, but now surrounding Disney characters. Yeah. So I saw somebody on TikTok opening a pack, and their holo was the evil Duke from Frozen.
Oh, like
Dude, like the scrawny dude with the mustache, and it's just so hilarious seeing that character in the context of a holographic card.
Oh yeah.
So there's some fun juxtaposition at least going on.
Yeah, and there's like no Disney property is off limits, right? Like we've got Emperor's New Groove. Mike, I know you're a big fan of that. We've got some of those characters. Obviously, Frozen. We've got Tangled. It was in there. I was trying to think. just all literally like Lion King all over the place. Aladdin. The deck I have is a Mickey Mouse deck that I'm playing with my starter deck, and my wife has believe it's an Aurora deck that she's using. So we're excited to play that. They have colors. You have 2 colors per deck. There's 6 ones to pick from, and they each have different abilities. So we're excited to dive into that this week as we get some of that free time back. But I just want to let people know. I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm like, you can't really go out and buy it very easily. Like literally one store I went to, they're like, all we have are the starter decks. The other one's like, we're out of starter decks. We only have like 2 booster packs. I'm like, well, I'll take it. I mean, we'll go open them at home. It'll be a good time. So we'll probably talk more about this comes to release. And also shout out to friend of the show, Patrick. He was able to pick up a Mickey Mouse playing mat from this game as well at his game store. So very excited to dive into those. But as I just mentioned, I forgot I need to go see Blue Beetle this weekend. But that's not an indicator of how this movie is. It just means it's a really bad time for movies to come out, and it wasn't really high on our radar list, right, Mike? We've talked about this before. This was a streaming movie moved to theatrical release, and I feel promotions are there, but not really well. Like, I don't think there's a lot of marketing dollars for Blue Beetle, right? At the end of the day, when you're probably looking at budget for this film, I didn't see it in a lot of places.
I don't think it's the studio's priority at the current moment.
Yes, absolutely. But we both were able to see it yesterday. You in the morning, me in the evening. So we're going to jump into our spoiler-free thoughts of this movie. We just did a full review episode, so you can go check that out if you want to listen to more of that. But Mike, go ahead and you get to start this time. Tell us your spoiler-free thoughts on Blue Beetle.
Yeah, I mean, Blue Beetle is a fine movie. Similar to the Fear Street trilogy, like I just mentioned, a soft recommend. There's enough here that will get you excited and pull your emotional heartstrings, but there's also moments that'll kind of fly in out of left field and feel very cheesy and out of place and like, oh, I wish they just would have left that weird bit out. We talked pretty in-depth in the spoiler cast about how this film was originally slotted for HBO Max, and we were, on the lookout for, was it going to feel cheap? Was it going to feel budgety? Was it going to not feel home in a theater? But ultimately, I feel like they did a good job. I don't know if they had to adjust the movie to fit into theaters, or maybe it wasn't far enough along on HBO Max, and it was just a very easy adaptation. But this felt like a Hollywood superhero film meant for the theaters, which I think worked out well for it. I don't really know what the future of this movie holds, but I would stick around. I'd watch a sequel. I hope that they can find a way to possibly shimmy this into James Gunn's broader universe, because I liked the family. I like the actors. I like the performances in this, and I'd love to see them play larger roles moving forward. But that's hard to say with the current state of DC and Hollywood in general. But I think at this point in time, I could recommend this movie. But it's not like you're not going to see something you've never seen before in this film. Chris mentioned before in our review, you got notes of Iron Man 2 going on here. Why not throw in Iron Man 1? Oh. Maybe a little bit of Spider-Man as well.
Spider-Man, Ant-Man, anything really.
Oh yeah, Ant-Man for sure. And also, I feel like I didn't bring this up in our review, but I think the trailers do a disservice to the point of they're showing too much. I thought there was some fun reveals that I would have liked to be surprised by that, we kind of just end up seeing in the trailers. So, if you got family out there, that have no idea what they're in for, haven't seen anything out there online, go check it out. I can recommend Blue Beetle.
Yeah. I think my stance is the same thing, right? This is out of the 3 DC movies I've seen this year. I've had probably the most fun at this one, if I'm going to be honest. More so than Shazam 2, more than The Flash. But is it the best movie ever? No, it's not. It's very much a built for streaming movie that moved to theatrical, and you kind of feel it. There's some the paint was a little thin in some areas, to use a metaphor. You can kind of see the unders and thing, but that doesn't take away from a great actor. I cannot pronounce his name. It's XOLO.
I believe it's just Zolo.
Zolo. Okay. Either way,
I believe
he is a great actor. His family, the family connection, as Mike mentioned, is really strong in this. It really kind of pulls everything forward and adds a really good connection to everything that a lot of other movies just kind of would gloss over, right? They would focus on the other parts and less of this. This is really where the movie shines, I feel, and really comes out the most. The Blue Beetle suit, despite what I may originally have thought, it looked pretty good on screen. I think they really finished off. They polished off. There's some really solid action scenes. There are some other really fun moments throughout this, but again, barely anything that feels new. At the end of the day, it feels like, hey, this looks familiar. It may be equally on par with something that's done before. But the second one is obviously looked less down or looked more down upon because it was second to get that done. So, that's fine. But there are some really cool moments. It really nails, we come back to the vibe of this character, the culture, it's all there. Like, it really nails that without it focusing too much on being a superhero movie. It just happens to be there along the way. I'm a little more optimistic on where they could piece this into the future simply because of how they've presented this character, the origin of the powers and abilities. So I think there's a lot of opportunities. However, even Aquaman coming out this year, I don't think any DC movie this year will be a considered success, if you will. I'm already doubting Aquaman ahead of time, Mike. I don't know if you feel the same way or not, but I feel like, this is not a box office, groundbreaking movie, but it wasn't built to be that way. It wasn't expensed to be that way. So it's doing just fine. But I think it's still, again, of the three, the most fun I've had at the theater this year. So, soft recommend if you've not. I've yet to catch Barbie, Mike. I will admit this. So I need to go see that next. But absolutely could say, if you've caught up on everything and you need to go catch something, Blue Beetle definitely along the way, if you will. But, we're going to shift gears. Speaking of the last DC movie, The Flash, Mike, some people haven't seen this. You may not know this due to the low box office numbers that it came in. But The Flash is coming to Max streaming service on August 25th, next week already, Mike. I can't believe that.
Yeah, I need a few more people to go see this movie. I do not need to defend this movie, right? But I feel like I just want the record of history to be accurate. Where I see people online saying The Flash is like the worst movie they've ever seen, the worst DC's ever put out. And I just need the record to set straight. The Flash is just an okay movie. DC's really good at this recently of just making just down the line okay films. So I just want to set the record straight again. Yeah. The Flash is not a dumpster fire that people seem to be elevating it at. I don't know where this is coming from.
I know exactly where it's coming from. You want to know where it's coming from? It's coming from James Gunn saying that this is the greatest superhero ever made. Literally the only way to ease that out is to go hyperbole the other direction. Like, two hyperboles cancel each other out. So
okay, so that's not bad. So that's what you should do, folks out there. You need to collect all of the aggregation of hype and average it out, and you get an average movie like The Flash.
Yeah, the problem with The Flash is it had it's an average movie, but it had a lot more possibly going for it, like potentiality in it, and it only came down to the middle. So I agree people's disappointment, but is it bad? Is it like, oh my God, the worst thing I've ever seen? No, I watched Shazam 2 earlier this year, so I don't know if they saw that or not. That might be why they think it's the worst movie, Mike, because they missed out on Shazam 2, which was just an awful film. Did they watch Wonder Woman 84? Has anyone seen that? Like, maybe they need to go back and revisit that.
Maybe they just skipped it because they didn't have HBO Max.
Yeah, they're one of the faithful. But at the end of the day, the Flash is ending its theatrical run at $268 million worldwide, which would be considered a loss for them simply because of the cost to make it, which is like $200 million to make this movie, and the considerable amount of marketing they did as well. So I'm sorry that they lost all this money, but again, not to bring it up twice in a row, but Barbie was such a success, it made up for all this loss in one go. So kudos to it, and its longevity at the box office as well. let's talk about Ahsoka, this show that's coming out this week, Mike, on Disney Plus. My wife was like, "Oh, is that this week?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "That's so exciting." She is so excited to watch this show. We get 2 episodes debuting not Wednesday anymore, but Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific for you, Mike. You're going to be able to get home from work and turn this right on. So it sounds like, my guess is here, Disney wants people to be talking about this on Wednesday rather than spoiling it for people on Wednesday. What do you think?
That's what I've been wanting for everything at Disney Plus. Like, stop doing these like essentially midnight releases and let me watch it like everyone else in the universe was watching the most popular show ever, Game of Thrones. Just give us a time to look for where most of America is awake, and I would appreciate that. Last week on the show, I mentioned that Man of Recaps YouTube video that recaps Clone Wars and Rebels, and I gave that a watch after I found out live on the show last week that it existed. And it was a really great recap. I felt like it's primed me pretty well. I mean, obviously, if somebody is a Rebels expert, they might have a different feeling because they'll know if anything was left out or different focuses should have been shifted somewhere else on the recap. But I feel like I'm primed and ready to watch Ahsoka, and I'm not going to feel like I'm left out. I have a very strong idea of the character's past and the different adventures that they've already gone on, and then the kind of like the swashbuckling team that they've put together in the past. So I'm ready, and I'm here for it. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I think the one thing I watched it as well, and I would say the one thing, it's very, very Ahsoka story focused, which is good rather than a recap of the entire series, which is more probably, I would say, disappointing for that. But I will say the one thing he kind of glosses over in Rebels, and he mentions it briefly, is that there is this room that like kind of time travels in Star Wars, right? This like space that time travels. I'm interested to see if they bring this back in the show, because that was a very big point in Rebels. So do you want to see time travel in Star Wars, Mike, is my question before we move on here, because that's like a very weird thing to say about Star Wars.
I don't know. I feel like you once you do that, you have tonally shifted the entire universe of Star Wars, and you're going to have to commit to it, because like the animated shows, they make stretches for sure, for better or for worse. I remember watching Clone Wars. There's a whole arc where they're on some sort of, it's not even like a planet. Is it like a cube or something where it's like the devil and God inside of it, or something like that?
It's the embodiment of the light and the dark side, right? Like it's the two, the son and the daughter, right? Kind of thing. And like Obi-Wan and Ahsoka die and then they're brought back to life. It's weird. It's real weird. Which is
just like absolutely wild. Can you imagine that, trying to be committed like to live action, right? So I feel like in the context of animation, they can kind of get away with it a little bit more, but yeah, time travel I feel like if you're going time travel, like that does not square with a show like Andor, but it might square with more of a show that leans into Jedis and the Force.
Well, how are you gonna undo Kathleen Kennedy's assassination on Star Wars if you don't have time travel to wipe it clean?
All right. Maybe I'm okay with it now.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so anyway, that's a big focus of it. So we'll see if they pull any of this into that as well. But yes, so Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, you can catch this on Disney Plus if the system doesn't crash from everyone trying to watch it. Over on Disney Plus, they're also filming. They were filming Daredevil: Born Again, the 18-episode series on Disney Plus. Wild numbers here, but the series will reportedly have Kingpin running for mayor of New York. Mike, I figured that's pretty givable, right? Or like a given, right? Like, I feel like that's like, he's gonna do that. Like he's done the comic books before.
Yeah, we've seen similar things happen with like Norman Osborn in the Spider-Man video games, Lex Luthor on any scale in any superhero show. So
exactly,
let's bring it on.
Easy. And then the other part of this was a very controversial part here. Like, good controversy. The Punisher will be taking care of law enforcement who have been using his symbol in their name. So he's very much against that. People using the Punisher logo in law enforcement. So if they do tackle that in the show, I'd be very surprised. I'm going to be honest.
I mean, that tracks with real life. The writers and creator of the Punisher are just like, do you not understand the character that we created and why you toting the logo?
What he actually stands for? Yeah,
makes no narrative sense. So I can't wait to see some of the news headlines from specific quote-unquote news outlets tear into that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. John Bernthal really sells that character. Like, he really is a terrifying person. It looks like a terrifying person and pulling it off. So I'm very excited to see him return to that role in the MCU. Also in the MCU, apparently the Spider-Man 4 script, the first draft was done before the WH strike, and it was revealed that it was written by Chris McKenna and Erik Sommers, who'd written the previous Spider-Man script.
I'm just laughing because I see this second bullet point that you've written down, and I have no context for it. It's just you have supposedly, quote, very good.
Yeah. So
well, I would hope so, and I don't know who said it.
Yeah, I don't either. The reports are like, yeah, the script was very good. I'm like, what does that mean? How specific is this? What do we want out of this?
I'm not saying that I can't believe more Tom Holland Spider-Man would be very good, but also Tom Cruise promised The Flash was gonna like change Hollywood forever. So like you gotta take people with a grain of salt.
I can take very good over the best script they've ever read though. Like if someone's like yeah, it's very good. I'm like, okay, that's pretty solid. I will say, I'm looking up here, Far From Home, No Way Home, both written and Homecoming. All these guys had hands in all the Spider-Man scripts so far. So if I could say anything, I would say that I trust them to continue writing that character, right? Like, they've given me no reason to doubt their Spider-Man writing abilities in the MCU at large. Yeah,
we might have missed the news by a week, or maybe we just didn't throw it in because it was obvious. It wasn't even really news, but that John Watts, who directed the original Spider-Man Tom Holland trilogy, confirmed that it was supposed to act as an origin story for the character, which I mean, I guess you really have to like think about it like at a mile high kind of galaxy brain type of deal. Like I get it essentially, because we kind of said the same thing when we reviewed No Way Home, of just like that final scene where he's got the classic suit on, stripped away from all of his Tony Stark kind of powers, and he's just out there.
He's got a police scanner and a cheap apartment in New York.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, he's like truly Spider-Man now. He's been through some shit. So yeah, I agree with the fact that it was an origin story. It is just kind of nice to hear that it seemed like that was the plan overall.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah. So now the real Spider-Man movies can begin, Mike.
Yeah. It's time for him to get that black suit and start dancing to jazz music.
That's right. He's gonna be throwing down so many finger snaps on the sidewalk. You're gonna love it. But yeah, so Spider-Man 4, I'm excited for this. Obviously we're in a hold for a lot of actual news and confirmations. So we'll keep you guys posted as we kind of move through this. Thor 5 is reportedly in development at Marvel Studios, at least was before the strikes as well. And there's a good chance that Taika Waititi will return to direct it. Asterisk, he has acknowledged the previous flaws of his movie, saying that they may have gone a little wild on the last one, a little too zany. Yeah. So I think he does great drama movies. Not all of his movies are comedies, right? So I feel there's a chance for him to rein it back in. Other people aren't willing to give him that chance. I don't know. Do we need a Thor 5 at this point?
I mean, I don't want to pretend that I understand a band that I've never met and I've only ever seen him, in like press junkets, in these more official capacities, right? But it does kind of feel like if I try to imagine, Taika as a person, he went from kind of just making like these indie movies from New Zealand. His career exploded in a good way, where now he's like directing, some of the biggest like blockbuster movies of all time. He was even doing the classic Hollywood of, I made a really popular movie, now I can make Akira if I want to. I feel like maybe like he got a little self-inflated, right? Maybe he didn't quite, think that his shit could stink anymore, and maybe he wasn't taking notes as seriously, or maybe he truly believed his vision was the only thing that should have made it to screen. What I'm just trying to say is it seemed like he got a little out of control in that last Thor Love and Thunder. And out of control in the sense of like he just made a goofier movie. It's not like he killed somebody. I'm not trying to say he needs to go to jail or anything.
Well, I think I would say I don't know again, this is post Bob. This is a Bob Chapek era movie, right, Mike? And how has quality been under Chapek? You think pretty good?
Yeah,
pretty good.
It's been poor.
So right, but like looking at what he did, Thor Ragnarok. Everybody loves Thor Ragnarok, right? He directed. He was not the writer, but then he went on to write, direct, and produce Jojo Rabbit. Probably one of the most heartbreaking movies of his. I'd say he has. Like,
yeah, heartbreaking and also hilarious at the same time.
Yeah, right. Like he can manage humor and emotion, like deep emotion, not just like surface level emotion, really well. And then Thor: Love and Thunder came out, and it was like, you know, it felt maybe phoned in a little bit. You think like maybe someone was calling like. I feel like he just didn't care in the press junkets for this because like someone else was calling the shots like at the end of it. How much studio interference was there? And we've heard about this with all the MCU on Disney Plus stuff, right? Like at what point was Chapek's resume being like the producers are going to come in and tell you what to do rather than
who knows, maybe some stuff was going on in his personal life too.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone always talks about George Lucas with Temple of Doom. You know, he's going through a divorce, and everyone's saying that affected the production of the film. So I guess this is just a good opportunity to go, you know, people are just human. For the most part, most people seem to respond positively to like Taika and his sensibilities. So
he's got skill in him, and so it's not like a reflection of him as like overall. But like, you know, do we need Thor 5? I guess my whole question is like, do we need a Thor 5?
That's a good question.
like this is a weird thing to put your energy into at Marvel because it'd be the only movie to get five total.
It seems like if you can get in one more Thor movie, right, before Secret Wars, right, before that big thing wraps up, right, we can maybe send Thor off in this big event. Like, we got Tony Stark and Captain America and Black Widow all kind of got sunsetted in that movie. So now who do we have left? We have Hulk and we have Thor and Hawkeye, I suppose. I mean, obviously, I think the best ending for Hawkeye is he just gets to just be with his family. I think that's what it is. He just retires like a normal human being would.
Right.
But yeah, if we can maybe get Thor and Hulk to kind of like ride off into the sunset in whatever version that is in Secret Wars, I think, yes, we can slip one more Thor movie in there before all that.
And I think there's an opportunity, you know, well, Thor 11 really squandered the idea of pantheons and gods, right? Like really squandered that ability. I would love to see this kind of maybe go back to that a little bit. Like a little, like, what are gods? Why are the pantheons? Like, what do they do? Like, really dive into the mythologies and like
what is the actual ramifications for killing Zeus? I mean, that should hold more weight. He
didn't die. He didn't die. He's at the end.
Oh yeah, he is at the end.
Because he's got Ted Lasso, dude.
Yeah, we got to see Hercules. That's right.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, you know, what is, you know, I guess being an outlawed god, if you will. I don't know. It's all over the goddamn place because I'm like, that doesn't sound very fun either. Like, we need if you're gonna do Thor 5, do a good story. And like you said, Chris Hemsworth, he would do it forever. But he probably wants to go out on a good note in Secret Wars. So let's look forward to that. But speaking of Avengers Secret Wars, I got news for that. Apparently, as we've reported for the past what feels like a year, they are setting up an all-new, all-different MCU after Secret Wars, which is what Marvel Comics used as a phrase to sell their comic books in 2012. It wasn't a reboot. It was just a shift around of how different creators, different writers, different, you know, team-ups, really, in the universes. This is where Jonathan Hickman got his start, who literally is based, all these movies have been based on his stuff, right? So that would be interesting to me, dude. All new, all different MCU. You jettison the history, right? You don't have to watch anything before this. You can start here, start today, and move forward. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before in the past about how this could be a possible way forward. But also, it does make you wonder, well, what's the place for the X-Men and what's the place for the Fantastic Four? These kind of like two IP that they are kind of just getting off the ground running, and then they might theoretically just explode the entire universe, right? Do we find a way to keep those groups going that they built? Or are they just gonna like kind of bring back a bunch of like James Marsden, Hugh Jackman style X-Men for Secret Wars, and then just kill them all off, and then start everything over in a rebooted universe?
As we've talked about, the Fantastic Four is probably going to be set in the 60s, right? Or 70s, and then sit forward. So if they're the 60s and 70s, then they're in Secret Wars, and then they get a kickoff in modern time, in this all different. I think that's fine, right? Like, you don't need another movie in between. Like, they start off, they're existing, they're going. You can go watch their origin movie if you want to, but you don't have to.
I guess it just depends. It just depends on what kind of comic book reset are they kind of maybe alluding to. Are they thinking brand new, start fresh, or some characters carry over, have previous knowledge, but have to adjust to a new life and like a new universe? The
way Secret Wars, the last issue or the last run of Secret Wars ended, it was a merging of everything into one like regular Earth, not a like DC, like a DC does Earth Prime, right? Marvel had like an Earth like kind of Prime, and there were no multiverses, there were no other things. So I would love to think that it's some character like they carry over, and if you watch the historical thing, you're like, oh, I understand this, but like they also don't need to drag you down with exposition of who characters are, right? Because like, now 2027 when this lands, Marvel characters, those are like household names, right? Like your kids grow up knowing that. You don't have to explain who they are. They just kind of kick off and they're going down in the movie. So I don't know, but I think this is a good. I think if this is true and they're able to pull it off and they're able to streamline things and get back to quality, as they've mentioned multiple times the past 6 months, that would be good for everybody, right? Like a return to quality, a return to simplicity, event filmmaking kind of stuff. So we'll cross our fingers, and obviously we'll keep reporting back. No, we're not here next week. Have you heard the Doctor Strange stuff about Doctor Strange 3 being an incursion-based movie, where like he is the evilness that they're trying to fight? Because he's caused the incursions on accident.
No, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that rumor floating around.
It's a rumor. Again, I don't focus on too much, but like Doctor Strange seems to be a big. Doctor Strange 3 will be here before Secret Wars, but they'll be pulling a lot of Jonathan Hickman's New Avengers stuff into that movie to show like other worlds. So I don't know. I'm excited for this stuff because I like Hickman's things, but I really want them to do it well, rather than just, as we said with Secret Invasion, borrow the name and then do something completely off-brand, if you will. Just real quick, let's touch on this. I don't know, did you see this Rick and Morty music video thing that came out this week? Like a season 7 music video preview?
Yeah, it's kind of like a teaser trailer for
like
the
a
next
recap,
season.
if you will. Because like all that stuff's there.
I was a little confused because I'm not caught up on Rick and Morty episodically. Yeah. I am caught up on it dramatically with the goings-on of the voice cast and everything. I started following a very popular choice for the replacement for Roiland because this guy is just an amazing duplicate for his voice, and he ultimately said, like the other week on Twitter, listen guys, they didn't call me, thanks for all the support, but I'm gonna stop thinking about this. It's been taking up a lot of my mental bandwidth, wondering, is my life going to categorically change from just somebody on TikTok who's been able to do a good Rick and Morty to somebody that does it professionally. So what I'm trying to get at here, Chris, is at the very end of this music video, we do get to hear Rick talk to Morty. But is that from the
that's from the last season? That is from the last season. So everything in this music video preview is essentially a recap, if you will, of the previous seasons, catching up to where we ended. Literally the ending of like they're going to make it their job to hunt down this Rick Prime, if you will. But the thing is, again, the confirmation here that they're not even giving us a little hint to is that they will use sound-alikes for Roiland's characters, including the title characters Rick and Morty, exactly the opposite direction as the show Solar Opposites, where they recast the main character with Dan Stevens because he got hit in the head or something, and now he talks with a British accent.
Or it was like a dart to the neck or
something changed his voice, to where he was British. So like they're not they're not addressing it like Solar Opposites did with a new person. They're literally doing, recasting it and maintaining. So I'm excited to watch more in here. I've heard the working conditions are better on the shows. But I wasn't around for anything. And as stated, Roiland has been, I wouldn't say exonerated, but he's not been charged or tried with anything of his crime. So again, innocent until proven guilty. Or I guess innocent because he was proven innocent. So
I think it's
anything,
more
but
like
his reputation is already gone.
It's what does Samuel L. Jackson say? The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Or am I saying it the other way around? It's kind of one of those situations. Of like, and also like I've heard just anecdotal stories around town of Roiland that are do not cast him in a good light, and it's not even necessarily related to the specific thing that he was dealing with in the courts out here. So the kind of the way I look at it is the people that were kind of forced to work with them, they were just looking for any sort of excuse to not have to do that anymore. Because that's a lesson for everyone out there in the world, right? Just be a good person, and just be a human being that that's nice, that people want to be around, and then people will be more often to give you the benefit of the doubt when you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm excited when this returns. Hear more about it. Definitely an interesting scenario, and we will, we'll recap whenever they make some announcements down the road. Lastly, Mike, this is in here for you because I know you're very excited for it, and that is the trailer. Anime trailer for Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, the upcoming anime for Netflix coming out this November. So obviously we've talked about this before. The voice cast from the 2010 movie returns to voice their characters again for this anime adaptation of Scott Pilgrim. Yeah,
it's star-studded, and also I feel like maybe the press releases and, official documentation might be referring to it as an anime, but it's really just an animated version of the Scott Pilgrim graphic novels, which obviously draw inspiration from like video games and, nerdy culture, and I'm sure anime and manga as well. But yeah, it's just like visually don't think of anime, just think of the graphic novel just put to 12 to 24 frames a second.
Either way, I mean they say it's anime and it's done by a Japanese company. Which one is it? I just had this pulled up because I don't know. Sorry, I forget what the company is. I'll figure it out here in a minute. Oh, Science Saru.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically, if you look at it through that lens, if it's being animated by a Japanese company, I guess DNA genetically it is anime. But traditionally, when people hear anime, they think of a specific.
It's not
style.
To reference the literally Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty has an anime that is done in a, like a Bleach style anime, right, or something of like a of a Gundam style anime, and this is more, the guy who did this, who drew Scott Pilgrim, literally took was it like How to Draw Anime for Nerds or something book that he took and drew this for. So
Brian Lee O'Malley is great. I've been following him on social media for a while. But this is all splitting hairs to the fact of this trailer is awesome. If you like Scott Pilgrim, especially if you like Edgar Wright's movie adaptation of it, you're just getting the marriage of both worlds here perfectly. The voice cast is returning, all of everyone's returning. Even Chris Evans. I don't think that there's a big gap left out of they couldn't get Allison or Brie Larson or whatever. I think they got her as well. So I think this is really cool, exciting. I was frame by framing on this trailer because I was oh, this looks so cool.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm a big fan of the live action movie, right? Edgar Wright's live action movie is that perfect blend of live action and hand drawn animation over the thing. Very quirky, very very fun. I actually love it. This I'm not as into this, sadly, but it's mostly it's November. I need to be a little closer before I really get hyped because
I'll be into it doubly extra.
Yeah, that's fine. You can have
for
that.
you. I mean, it's hard to say if it's gonna capture the same kind of nostalgia that I have for Scott Pilgrim back in the day, because I think like a lot of people out there in the world, they came to Scott Pilgrim through Edgar Wright's movie like I did, and then you branch out and you start to go and investigate the source material, right? So that might be a bit of a challenge of like, well, how do you live up to the live action that brought in a lot of this audience, and then, you know, thread the needle for the OG fans, right? That might be hard to do. Yeah, but it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's 8 episodes, and again, this is called Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, which I believe is it wasn't one of the names. Scott Pilgrim versus the World was the name of one of the books, but this is not. But it's like retelling the Scott Pilgrim stuff as well, right? Like you can literally see like you mentioned, frame by frame. Some of the scenes are like, oh, this is from the live action movie, and you can see that, which is also again from the book. So it's like a 3-level deep kind of homage, if you will. But yeah, like it's really again pulling no punches. Netflix is doing a really good job with this, I feel, and like really diving into some of the stuff from like 15 plus years ago to their audience, I guess. So I'm actually really impressed at how well this looks and what they've gone through to get it done along the way, if you will. So. But yeah, absolutely. Like I said, November 17th, you can check that on Netflix and revisit Scott Pilgrim from the movie from 2010. Mike, what's the weather check for you out there before we get off of here?
Weather check, the rain is picking up. The headlines are talking about drenching and things getting worse for California. But as of right now, looking out my window, it just looks like a lot of rain, but the wind should be picking up at some point in time, and that's when things will get a little bit more real. All
right, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up for you so you can get somewhere safe and hang out and, you know, worry about California wildfires next week once the the tropical storm dies down. But where can people find you in the meantime?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, wherever else you want to enter that in your social media search engine. But please go read my webcomic at liferewardsrisk.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or video game networks of the same name, Valdan, Valdan. If people want to know more about the show, where they can listen to our Blue Beetle review we did right before we jumped on here, where can they listen to all that good stuff?
Yeah, all you got to do is head on over to superheroslate.com. That is the headquarters for everything we do here at the show. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, get merch, superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Reach out. Let us know if you're excited for Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. What's your thoughts on the voice casting for Rick and Morty? Do you think Thor 5 needs to happen? Let us know. We love hearing from you, and we love our super fans. And if you want to be a super fan, all you got to do is share the show with a buddy, share the show with a friend, and we will be taking next week off, so we'll see you in a couple weeks, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you then.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.